Mad Bomber, Mr. Mike Sterling. How we doing tonight, brother?
Trying to stay warm, buddy.
I hear you. We have, spoiler alert, I actually lost power right after the live stream for 11 hours last night. Got to test the insulation in my house, and it worked very well. Money well spent.
If only you were prepared.
Yes.
Right after he texted me to say that all of his power lines are underground and he never loses power. I kid you not. Yep.
I got a little bit of excoriation from Chris this morning about that, as I told him I'd lost power. And from a much warmer area of the country right now, Mr. Jeff MD, what's your current weather looking like, sir?
Well, it's dropped down to the high 60s with clear skies, but it was in the 70s when I went out today taking my bike ride. So,
this
has been cooler. It's been in the high 70s, 80s the last few days. So it's starting to cool
suck.
off.
Yeah, you start to realize why the retirement areas. Yeah, this is why people retire there, and in where Chris is in Florida. Because when it gets cold here, they're just wearing a light jacket. So, I mean, when do you start putting on jackets, Jeff? At like 50 degrees, 60 degrees?
No, because I was born in Iowa, so I'll be in 50. I'll be wearing shorts, but
it'll be right after he's coming out.
Boats that are like covered with dust.
It'll be right after coming out of the Denny's at, after the early bird special's over.
First Cafeteria or Golden Corral? Nobody goes.
Only places for people that can't fight at Waffle House.
Okay, the youngster's going to reel us back in, you bunch of geriatrics. So. But tonight we have, and real quick, let me give a shout out to our sponsors, CCW Safe, Sawyer Water Filters, Native Hydrate, and Flex Industry Triggers, all sponsors of tonight's show. We'll have some videos throughout the show on those sponsors. We'd like to thank them for their sponsorships of our show, making this possible, what we do and what we bring to you guys. And we appreciate you guys being here on this stream with us. Tonight we have in honor of January 6th, we are going to discuss the happenings of one specific event from 4 years ago on January 6th, and that was the cold-blooded murder of Ashli Babbitt. We all know about this. As an Air Force veteran, she was an Air Force veteran as well. This one's pretty near and dear to my heart. Obviously, there's a lot of lies and deceit around the entire January 6th narrative that the media wants to push out on us. Pretty uneventful day today, and we'll get to that later. But we're going to start off with our headline. And we're kind of doing a little bit different tonight because there wasn't a whole lot of really big news things. So we're not doing the real 10, 15 minutes on a top news item tonight. We're going to jump right into chapter 1, which is Ashli Babbitt. So let's go ahead and pull up that first story, Chris.
So we've got a video here. I want to say it's a few minutes long. I don't know that we'll play the whole video, but we'll play enough of it to spark some discussion.
Now to a WUSA 9 exclusive, brand new reporting on the insurrection at the Capitol and the killing of alleged Capitol rioter Ashli Babbitt. Her family has hired an attorney from Prince George's County to bring a multi-million-dollar wrongful death lawsuit against the U.S. Capitol Police Department. And now that attorney is speaking with us. Here's Chief Investigative Reporter Eric Flack.
Open the door! It was a day of chaos, confusion, and violence as rioters stormed the U.S. Capitol January 6th. Through it all, a single gunshot was fired. That bullet killed 35-year-old Air Force veteran Ashli Babbitt. According to the Department of Justice, Babbitt had traveled from California to D.C. to protest the 2020 presidential election results and was among a mob of people that entered the Capitol building and tried to force their way into the speaker's lobby.
Was Ashli Babbitt murdered in the eyes of her family?
In the eyes of her family, of course she was. I mean, there was just no legal justification to take her life.
Last month, the DOJ cleared the unidentified Capitol police officer who shot Babbitt, finding there was not enough evidence to support a criminal prosecution or that the officer willfully used force that was constitutionally unreasonable. But Terry Roberts, who specializes in police misconduct and civil rights litigation, says the Babbitt family now plans to file a multi-million-dollar wrongful death lawsuit against the Capitol Police Department, alleging the Capitol Police officer who killed Babbitt had no right to fire his weapon, hitting her in the shoulder, causing her to fall back from the doorway and down to the floor. She later died at the hospital.
She shouldn't have been there. Does the conversation go any farther than that?
It goes very much farther than that.
Roberts says Babbitt was unarmed, trying to climb through a narrow window next to a door to the speaker's lobby. He claims since Babbitt was facing forward, she could not see the officer, his gun drawn, at a sharp angle to her left. Roberts says Babbitt's view of the officer was further obstructed by a barricade of furniture blocking the door. And although you can hear someone in this video yelling the Capitol Police officer had pulled out his gun, "There's a gun! There's a gun! There's a gun!" Roberts says it was too loud for Babbitt to hear that warning, and that his investigative team has interviewed at least 6 other people who say the officer himself gave no verbal warning of his own before.
I would like to point out something in this video that I just noticed in watching it. When you're seeing this gun drawn, look at the hallway behind them and how there's 2 or 3 figures walking around down there. They do not seem to be under stress. They do not seem to be concerned with what's going on, anything. And that draws even more skepticism of this narrative of what was going on, because those people don't look afraid at all. Were they security? Were they, just office personnel? But in the kind of situation that has been framed in this narrative, it was, you had Adam Kinzinger talking about, oh, we won, as tears rolled down his pathetic face, and making all of this crap up about what actually happened. But Mike, I'm going to go to you first on just your general reaction to this entire event and what it kind of signifies for where we go and what we do with this, just overreach of justice and overreaction of things.
So like a lot of the folks in the audience, I remember watching this live when this happened. Mm-hmm. And because there was a lot of people that were filming at that time. It was wild. And when it happened, even then, it was, if you look at where she was just a couple of seconds before they panned the camera around and started looking, she's literally got a uniformed police officer standing next to her. And this guy's still engaged. Well, one, he's too hot on the trigger for one, big time. He's not looking. He threw away all the safeties. Just the whole bunch of them. Cooper's laws went out the window completely. There's people in Ashli Babbitt's in her behind her in her background, mm-hmm. And she's got then she's got a uniform officer right next to her. This guy, no, that is a bad shoot all the way around, and she's not threatening anybody. She literally she grabbed a hold of the frame, leaned through, and got shot.
Yeah. Yep. And to me, Jeff, I never saw this officer. I just saw him draw his gun, point it, and shoot. Never was he given commands to back down. Never was he given what police are trained to do. I know this because I train police. You give lawful and clear orders to the person. If you're going to put a weapon on them, you give them lawful and clear orders before you engage. Now, once you've given those orders, there is no necessarily a time frame for when you engage. The understanding is they're supposed to comply, and if non-compliance equals intent in the eyes of a police officer. However, that's not what I'm seeing here, and I've watched a lot of police shooting videos. What's your general take on that, Jeff? You're muted, bud.
Given this cop's history, which is not good. He is not a good cop. He is the Capitol Police version of the Acorn cop, I think. He had never been in a situation, any remotely like this, and he panicked. If he'd put a round in the ceiling first, man, the crowd they probably all would have dispersed. But what bothers me is, okay, one, she's unarmed, and two, she was her back, like as Mike pointed out, her background was full of people. And I'm actually surprised somebody else wasn't injured by the round going through her and into somebody else. I don't know what he was shooting. I don't know if it stayed in her body. I did not see it. I don't know. I don't remember where in the hell I was, but I came home from wherever I was, and someone says, "Yeah, there's a riot at the Capitol." I'm like, "There is." So I missed most of it, but I just look at it this way: had he been a white cop and she had been a black woman on a BLM protest, he'd be in prison.
Yep.
This guy, because it doesn't matter that he's black or white, but it's just that he's a incompetent police officer. It was a bad shoot. He shot an unarmed woman who was not an immediate threat to him or anybody else. She wasn't armed. She carried nothing. She didn't have a club, a stick, a knife, or anything. And he used lethal force without serious justification. And he gets a bonus, a promotion, and personal security that we're paying for. Now compare him to Chauvin, who, the whole George Floyd thing, where George Floyd was a violent felon in the commission of a felony who had a long violent history, who did not comply, and then died by ODing on his own stash. Chauvin's in prison for decades. And he almost got killed here in Arizona. They had him in a federal prison here, and he got stabbed. So, where's the consistency here? If the roles were reversed, we would be looking at the federal government filing civil rights violations on the guy, among everything else.
Yep. Mike, you have something else there?
Yeah, I mean, just to add on to what Jeff MD was saying, I mean, let's face it. He hopped probably 5-6 of the rungs of the escalation ladder that he never touched. I mean, not only was he not giving any additional commands, he skipped all the way across all the less lethal steps straight to lethal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this would be like a cop pulling you over and said, "Can I see your driver's license and registration, please?" And you said, "Yeah, no, I don't have it on me. I shot him because he didn't comply." Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's not how you do these things.
No, there's clearly a law or a rule book to follow for police officers. Police officers are not allowed to just go around, escalating situations to shooting people. That's how they get put in prison. And when you see these kind of things, you can go on police activity on YouTube and you can see tons of bad shoots. You can see a lot of lawful shoots too. And we've watched hours, probably hundreds of hours of that footage, myself and Dave, my partner. And it's very clear. And there's a very clear process to escalation and de-escalation. The first thing that police are supposed to do is de-escalate any kind of situation. That's what they're trained to do. That's what they're supposed to do. Doesn't seem like this is the case here. Chris, did you have anything you want to add before we move on?
Yeah, just two quick things. Number one, his emails were released under a FOIA request. I think it was Tom Fitton who originally did that. He was given a $35,000 bonus, which Jeff mentioned he got a bonus. He got a $35,000 bonus and then went back and asked for more money. And then it was revealed that he's had all kinds of credit problems. He ran up his credit cards, didn't pay his bills, and was trying to milk it for as much as he could get. And the next part to it is he's been asking the Biden admin for a pardon. And I don't remember who said this, but it puts a pretty fine point on it. If you're innocent, you don't need a pardon. So that's my feeling. This is an unjustified shoot, unjustified kill. And here we are 4 years later, and he's still walking free. And that's actually offensive, because I would go with what Jeff said. If the roles were reversed and it was a white cop who had shot a black girl, he'd be rotting in jail right now next to Derek Chauvin.
Yeah, in that time frame, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to bring attention to something Katie put in the chat here. John Sullivan, you guys remember this little pipsqueak from, I think he's from Oregon. traveled all the way from Oregon and just so happened to be filming the Ashli Babbitt murder. He got direct footage of that and was filming at the time. And then was caught with a colleague of his out in the parking lot or outside of the Capitol saying, we did it, we were successful.
Mm-hmm.
This was a psyop, and it was a freaking false flag to end all false flags, to try and paint us in the same light as the people that burned down the country in 2020. Go ahead, Jeff.
Now, I'm going to make one
two,
point playing devil's advocate. What Ashli Babbitt was doing prior to this incident was not cool. They're trying to break through a barricaded door. They're smashing windows. It's destruction of public property. I get that. But even if it's probably a misdemeanor. Even if it's a felony, it's a low-class felony. It's not a capital offense. No. He was executed for, this is like, shooting kids who spray paint graffiti on your fence. Should they be doing it? No. Does that mean you can kill them? No.
Yeah, agreed. It's the insane thing about January 6th is all the videos that we have, and still haven't seen all the footage from this, of Capitol Police allowing people and ushering them into the Capitol at times. People walking through the rotunda unimpeded, unmolested. It's just such a weird event. And I say weird with a lot of skepticism. It was orchestrated. It was an orchestrated event.
I'm a little slow on the draw tonight, but I want to use my new toy, and I want to give Jeff props for his observations there. So, quick bit of applause from the audience there, Jeff, if you can hear that.
You should not talk while you're doing that. All it does is just go.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hold on. Thank you for the feedback. We'll try it again. Better? Oh, come on now. I mean, I can play some fancier stuff if you want.
There you go. So as a result of this, Ashli Babbitt's family, we have a couple news articles here. First one's the Daily Mail, and it's talking about the lawsuit that her family has filed on her behalf. And it's $10 million, claiming Ashli Babbitt's family say they will sue Capitol Police for $10 million, claiming the cop who shot her ambushed her, gave no verbal command before pulling the trigger. The video doesn't lie on this, so I definitely agree with that synopsis for sure. Chris, I'm going to go to you first on this and let you give your input on it.
So they were considering a $10 million lawsuit, but the last piece of information that I read on this is actually $30 million is what the lawsuit was.
Article, isn't it?
Yeah, it's coming up in one of the articles in the the brief. So, and rightfully so. This was absolutely an unjustified shoot. It's murder. There's no other way to state it. And if there's not going to be any retribution for Michael Byrd for killing her, as far as criminal charges are concerned, there's got to be something on the civil side. I mean, she didn't deserve to be shot and killed. She wasn't that big of a threat. So that's all I've got to add on that.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go to the next article, the New York Post. I want you to scroll down on that one, and there's a specific video or a specific picture that speaks to what I think Mike was saying right there. That one right there. That is a Capitol Police officer in the mask behind the phone. That's the police officer that I think Mike or Jeff, one of you guys, was talking about. So she was right next to a Capitol Police officer, and another one felt like he needed to. Let's also talk about priority of fire. That's a real thing with police. If there's a police officer in front of you, you do not draw and use your weapon. You allow that police officer to handle the deal. And it looks like he was having a conversation. Although it may have been a heated one, he was having a conversation with this group.
It's worth mentioning where the cursor is here that you can see his badge that he's Capitol Police.
Yep. So it's I'm gonna let any of you guys comment on this real quick. Then we'll move on. But this is pretty clearly negligence on top of everything else for this Byrd, Mr. Byrd, the officer. Anybody have anything to add to that, Mike, Jeff?
Well, Byrd is the word.
Nice.
Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, let's go to the next one. This one's really talking about more of the lawsuit aspect of it. This is a YouTube video as well from Benny Johnson.
Yeah, and I think this one may be the one that speaks to them increasing the damages to 30 million. It's 11 minutes. Obviously, we're not going to play the full 11 minutes. If you go to patreon.com/survival dispatch, sign up for a free membership. 50% of the content is free, including the sit rep for tonight, the brief for tonight that has links to all this stuff. So you can go and watch the entire video at your leisure if you so choose.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Benny. The truth shall set you free. We always say that on this program, and especially if that truth makes the elites and the establishment uncomfortable, it is even more important to state. And so let's state it right now. They often call January 6th a deadly insurrection, but they don't say who died. So who actually died inside of the United States Capitol? That person's name is Ashli Babbitt. She's an Air Force veteran. She is a patriotic American. She's somebody that had her grievances with the federal government, and she wished to regress her grievances with the federal government, which is her First Amendment right. Ashli Babbitt was murdered in an execution without warning. She was unarmed inside of the halls of the United States Capitol. Nothing ever happened to the person who murdered her. Nobody ever charged him with anything. This security officer inside of the Capitol who just murdered this patriotic American. Now, you could argue about some of the wisdom of the movements inside of the U.S. Capitol. That day was pure chaos. But Ashli Babbitt was acting non-violently. She was attacking no one. And so it is with, I guess, some type of dark, solemn understanding of this situation that we are proud to report that maybe there'd be a small sliver of justice for Ashli Babbitt's family, as her family has now filed a $30 million lawsuit against the government for her death. I mean, for her killing, for her execution without trial, her execution by the federal government without warning. Air Force veteran Ashli Babbitt's husband, Aaron, has filed a $30 million lawsuit accusing the government of a wrongful death, assault, battery, and various negligent issues. She was shot and killed inside the U.S. Capitol building by then Lieutenant Michael Byrd of the U.S. Capitol Police. The lawsuit claims that she was unarmed and had no unlawful purposes. She has a First Amendment right, just like you do, to have a redress of your grievances.
I think that's more than enough for us to kind of get the idea of where this is going. Wrongful death is the key here. Did she have to die? That's the thing. Did she have to die? Was she about to seriously injure or kill someone in that Capitol? Nope. And you guys remember the narratives of the police officers that supposedly were beat to death and killed, and it ended up being none of them. One of them had some kind of neurological, I think a stroke or something like that. That was Sicknick, if I remember correctly. Had some kind of neurological issue that killed him. And then there was another one that I think died a few days after, which is always suspicious anyways, but not on our part, but on the part of, when people start mysteriously dying, it's kind of weird. But they weren't killed by any of the rioters, as they like to call them, or any of the protesters. They were they died of other causes. So, what do you think? Do we
suicide? Most suicide.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There was it
4 of the 5
or 2?
Suicide. Only 6 died of natural causes.
Yeah. Several self-deletions.
Which is also weird in this kind of a situation that we have these guys committing suicide as well. Remorseful suicide, I don't know, but or Jeffrey Epstein style suicides. So, not to put our tinfoil hats on or anything, but
Are they on the Diddy list?
yeah, that's a key question nowadays. Mike, nice, Mike putting his tinfoil hard hat on there.
I was not.
That's for the high level conspiracy theories, the hard
Right.
hat.
Anyway.
So what are your thoughts on this? Do we think that this thing has any legs as far as that goes?
I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I mean, it's pretty solid. The amount of evidence is fairly overwhelming. I mean, I'm sure the government's, and the lawyers are going to wind up going back and forth, but there's video of the whole thing. So there's like a 20, 30 second period there, or even a couple of minutes, where you can just drill right on down into that thing and tell like everything that's going on. This is a bad shoot. I don't know a DA in the country who would back this guy.
Yeah.
If he was on their force.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, if I'm on the jury, the big questions are going to be, did he have a taser? Or did he have pepper spray?
Mm-hmm.
And if he had one or the other and didn't use it, that's bullshit. It's like you're behind a locked door with a furniture barricade, and your first thought is to use lethal force. If he had pepper spray on his belt, or if any of them did and they did not use it, sorry, got to call bullshit on that one.
Yeah. In all honesty,
right, none of those people were armed.
Right. And in all honesty, and Chris, you can agree or disagree with this, but I think this what will end up happening is that there will be a settlement on this case. The family will be awarded probably several $1 million, a fraction of what they're suing for. That's the way most of these do. But I think really people in the government they want this to go away, especially the people that could be held accountable. And that's what typically happens in these cases.
Yeah, I agree, John. I think something that's worth mentioning, and we have some posts coming up to this effect as well, though, is that the legacy media and the Democrats have been screaming for 4 years of this violent insurrection and police officers who lost their lives, and none of that happened at all. And there was no violent acts on anybody's part where somebody else was killed other than Michael Byrd killing Ashli Babbitt. That is the one and only murder that happened. And there's a ton of evidence to that effect, but we'll still have people who have drank the Kool-Aid that are going to disagree with that. And I want to bring up Sarah Maccabee and her husband Colton as an example of this. Okay. So Colton was at J6 and he's a sheriff's deputy in Kentucky. And he had clothing on that indicated that he was a sheriff's deputy, even though he wasn't at J6 in a law enforcement capacity. There was a guard who got knocked over in a crowd and was essentially being trampled. And Colton was close by, and he jumped on top of the guy and saved this guy from getting trampled. There were 4 videos from 4 different individuals that show the officer thanking Colton for saving him from at least, physical harm, if not death. So then not too long after that, one of the ladies who died on January 6th has a heart attack. Colton is the closest person who has any training. He tries to resuscitate her, give her CPR. The paramedics show up, and the paramedics are on video, 2 separate videos, saying that because Colton was upset, saying, listen, man, you did everything you could. Clearly she's had a major heart attack. There's nothing that you could have done to save her. Okay. So fast forward to August of 2021, the feds show up at Sarah and Colton's door. These are high school sweethearts, by the way. And they arrest him on 6 federal counts of felony assault, 4 against the police officer, 2 against the lady who died. So when it gets to court, and the name of the judge is escaping me right now. I want to say it begins with CH something something. She would not allow the videos into evidence. So basically she convicted him. There was no jury. She convicted him and wouldn't allow the videos that essentially exonerated him. So then what they did is they stuck him in a section of the DC gulag that had been shut down for 15 years because of water intrusion. It was falling apart. It was full of mold, full of rats, all kinds of critters and stuff. They moved him out of there, put him into general population. Of course, he was assaulted immediately. He has been in 21 different penal institutions across the country. Sarah didn't get to even talk to him until a month after that day that they arrested him. She didn't get to see him until a year after they arrested him. And his total sentence was 6 years. And hopefully this is going to be, knocked out, pardoned by Trump here in a matter of a handful of days. But it's all theater. Everything related to January 6th of this insurrection is all theater, 100%. And you've got innocent people. Colton did nothing wrong. He does not deserve to be in jail, prison. And it's absolutely disgusting what the Democrats have done to people who are exercising their constitutional right over an election that we know, no ifs, ands, or buts, was stolen. And anybody who thinks otherwise needs to step forward and tell me, where did the 15 million votes go to? You've got Obama's elections, both times, 60 some odd million, 68, 67 million. Actually went down the second time he was elected. Hillary Clinton, 68, 69 million. All of a sudden, Joe Biden, 81 million. Then you got Kamala Harris again, 2024, 68 million. There's a discrepancy of 15 million votes. Where did they go? I know exactly where they went. They were in the voting machines, because we know the guy who wrote the frickin' software, for crying out loud. Dennis Montgomery was a CIA asset for many, many years. And if you don't believe this, go look up Hammer and Scorecard. So he wrote a piece of software that was used around the world by the CIA to steal elections to prop up whichever government candidate that they wanted in office. In 2020, it was used against us. And Dennis Montgomery to this day is absolutely pissed that his software was used to steal an election here in America. But there were measures taken in 2024, and that software was no longer in play. And without the software in play, where'd the 15 million votes go to? The 15 million votes were complete and utter bullshit. The 2020 election was stolen. The people who were protesting on January 6th, 2021 were within their legal rights to do so. And the vast majority of people who were there that are now in jail broke no laws, period.
Yep.
That's all there is to it.
Okay, those 15 million votes, there was a rapture. Nobody told us about it. God didn't even know about it. Maybe it was Satan's rapture and they were called down to hell. I don't know.
No, that's not true. My ex-wife is still on the planet.
That's true. That's true.
Her dad didn't call her back home to run the company business.
Yep. So, and here's another article on AOL. Boy, talk about a blast from the past there, AOL.
No kidding.
But talking about this lawsuit and what's going on with that. Tom Fitton, if you guys do not follow him on X, fantastic. Judicial Watch, awesome dude. Really, really involved in all of the political world and the legal world of what's going on. These guys, and he's an amazing lawyer. So they have filed a $30 million wrongful death lawsuit on Ashli Babbitt's family's behalf. This is a huge move, and I'm hoping and praying that this takes off and that they win a huge settlement or
major props to Tom Fitton. Yep. Standing up to the plate here and taking this on for no monetary gain on his part. The money will go to the family. He's already said so.
Yep. Yeah, he does a lot of this stuff pro bono, does not take any money from it because he believes, and he's a patriot. He believes in defending people that don't have the means, because to sue the federal government, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of resources. It's not cheap. That's honestly what the left knows. That's why they always do these unconstitutional laws, because they know it takes a lot of resources and a lot of money to actually take it up in federal court. And you always run the chance of losing, and you're just out hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. I mean, it's that expensive to sue the federal government, and they do that on purpose. So anyways, so this is the violent ridiculously violent insurrectionist Ashli Babbitt's last video, and you can see that this is just an unhinged person, just with who's bloodthirsty and wants to just kill every Capitol Police officer. Yeah, let's watch this video.
Don't you?
You say what?
I think she's cannibalistic. Actually.
Yes, I think so. I think I heard that on MSNBC.
Yeah.
3 million people here today. So despite what the media tells you, boots on ground definitely say something different. There is a sea of nothing but red, white, and blue, and patriots and Trump. And it was amazing. We could see the president talk. We are now walking down the inaugural path to the Capitol building. 3 million plus people. God bless America, patriots.
She sounds like Al Qaeda to me.
Yeah. I think she was actually saying Allahu Akbar.
Allah Akbar.
Clearly a
long live Osama bin Laden.
Yeah. I think she was actually trying to rape that.
And don't forget, free Gaza.
Right.
All I know is I didn't feel safe when that was playing.
Yes,
I know. I felt threatened from here 4 years later.
Yeah. So, it's very obvious what this is. This is and I've said this many a times in the past several years. Everything in the media is a narrative. Everything is based on a narrative. So, with this in mind, how do we, Mike, and I'm going to kind of turn the conversation to, how do we combat this absolute just insanity that comes out of the media and the people that are still watching this and taking this for the truth? I think there's far less of them. I think the normies are starting to wake up to the lies that the media has been peddling all the way back to, the pandemic and even before that. But, I think it really started coming to a head then. But what do you think? How do we kind of combat this kind of stuff going forward?
Exactly the same way that we do with bad politicians and bad cops. You shine a light on it. You show them to the world. They can't exist. They can't exist unless they're in the shadows. You show it all out there, and it will get sorted out at that point. You shine a light on it, and that is the absolute best way of doing it. Quick shout out though to Sam from YouTube. Thanks, man. We appreciate you.
I missed something. So, sorry.
We're in the starred.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah. And so, Jeff, I'm going to get your reaction to Tim Pool. This is in reaction to something that was posted by the Department of Justice. The Justice is Blind Department of Justice that has done nothing to target its political opponents in the last 4 years and has been as innocent and pure as the Virgin Mary herself.
Holding the scale with a blindfold.
Yes. But Tim Pool, Garland is full of shit. He says 5 officers lost their life as a result of January 6th. The stroke deemed natural causes and 4 suicides. F right off. I feel similar, but I'm going to let you react to what was said by the Attorney General, furthering a false narrative.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about misinformation. Merrick Garland is apparently the Attorney General of misinformation, because this has been completely, thoroughly, 100% debunked, and he's reporting it. He's still saying it. It's right up there with the fine people bullshit.
Yep.
And the liberals, he's talking to his own base. They don't care about facts. They just care about whatever they say. They know it's bullshit, but they keep repeating it anyway. But it is the epitome of misinformation and disinformation and malinformation to repeat lies and claim they're the truth. But that is their whole game plan. don't let the facts get in the way. Don't let of a good story. And and we get frustrated with it because we know the truth. And I think that's part of what they're trying to do. They're trying to poke the bear. But this is red meat for their base. They're not trying to convince us. We know better. They're not trying to convince the majority of American people. They know better. I mean, this is 4 years old where it's like nobody died. Not a single police officer died as a result of January 6th, but they keep saying it. And if you repeat a lie enough, it becomes the truth, at least in their own minds.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out something else, and Chris, I'll let you speak to this, is how many people were actually charged with murder? Because they said that these guys were beat to death. They have footage of these supposed, murders. I mean, there were, tens of thousands of hours and minutes of footage of all of the cameras, and there are massive levels of cameras, the closed circuit TV, and all of this stuff within the Capitol, in the grounds, and within the building. So they would have more than enough evidence to bring charges against these people. Why were no murder charges filed?
Because nobody was murdered outside of Ashli Babbitt. Yeah. That's all there is to it. There are absolutely zero murder charges against anybody who attended on that day. The whole thing was orchestrated by Nancy Pelosi. If anybody who doesn't believe this and takes the time to go investigate it, there's all kinds of video of her laughing and joking how she pulled off this, fake insurrection. Not to mention the fact that Trump made a post on Twitter telling people to go home. Twitter took it down and tried to say that Trump encouraged the violence, didn't try and discourage the violence. Quick correction on Jeff. Jeff said it's misinformation. It's actually a step worse than that. It's disinformation. It's purposeful lying on their part. The spirit of what he said is correct, but this was done on purpose. And again, I'm with Jeff. This has been debunked from every which way you can possibly look at it. And it's absolutely mind-blowing that we're still contending with this. But keep in mind what I've said over and over and over again on Survival Dispatch News. The Democrats will do anything to get a headline, regardless of what the follow-up is. So you'll see the tagline on Survival Dispatch News, "The truth is a footnote. Get it here," sort of thing. And the best example, because it's relatively current, it's easy, is Christopher Wray goes in front of Congress and says Donald Trump was not shot on July 13th. It was debris that came off of a teleprompter. Of course, the video shows all the teleprompters completely intact. 48 hours later, the FBI releases a letter saying Director Wray spoke out of turn and Donald Trump was indeed shot with a 223-556. But in that 48 hours, all of the liberal legacy media went to town on Donald Trump was not shot. So then you turn around, you look on social media, and one numbskull after another is parroting the same lie. Like Jeff said, they just keep telling the same lie over and over and over again. And again, that's the whole thing with the Democrats. I would argue the rhinos are just as bad. So for people watching, we're not suggesting that there's any difference really between the Democrats and the Republicans. They're two different sides of the same coin. From my perspective, you guys can speak for yourselves, but you have the establishment on one hand and you have the rest of us on the other hand. And you can put a label on us and call us deplorables or whatever you want. You can call us MAGA, whatever you want, but 80 million of us at least look at the Republicans and Democrats as the same freaking thing. They're just a bunch of paid establishment shills and actors. Period.
Well, Chris hit it on the head here. The lie is on going back to old school newspaper, because I'm an old dude and I used to actually read a physical newspaper every day for like 40 years of my life. The lie is on page 1, section A, above the fold, just below the head, just below the banner. The correction is on 3 days later on section C, page 9, below the fold in the lower left-hand corner. And It's yay big. The headline is brought all the way across, and the correction is nobody reads the corrections because nobody sees the correction. And if you want to be fair, it should be The correction needs to be in the same place with the same point type as the lie. If the lie's on page 1 above the fold, the correction should be on page 1 above the fold. If it's 8-point type, it should be 8 point. If it's 20 point, it needs to be 20 point.
Yeah. Agreed.
So people know, oh wow, they lied to me 2 days ago.
Exact same thing happened with the New York Times with the Iraq WMD story. When they finally did retract, there's no WMDs in Iraq. When they finally retracted that and said, oh yeah, these guys are over there, they're actually picking a lot of stuff up. It was it was what, 4 years later, page 48 of the New York Times. I know I still got the clipping around here somewhere. Page 48 down to the bottom of the page.
Yeah. And it was probably on like a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Well, and the legacy media wonders why they're in single digit support, just like Congress. They're a bunch of lying SOBs. Somebody in the chat asked for a picture of Michael Byrd. There he is. And there's a gazillion pictures out there. I brought this one up on purpose, though. This is from MSNBC's Nightly News, and he protected members of Congress from mega terrorists. Nothing could be further from the truth. The guy's a cold-blooded murderer.
We all know that, right? I mean, she was killed at least 3 or 4 times that day.
Right.
Right. Well, and I'll say this, and this is the beauty of podcasts. As you bring that up, the beauty of podcasting, I actually tuned into Sean Ryan and good friend of the show, Sam Shoemate, on this whole thing with this Vegas cyber truck yesterday. They debunked all of the false narratives that are going on about this, that Sam fabricated these emails and all of this stuff, that fat spook creepy dude that went viral there for a minute over him saying, I have evidence that he's lying and Sean Ryan's lying. They debunked all that stuff, but there was one key point that they actually pointed out last night. The distrust in the media and our institutions like the FBI is so deep that we have to use podcasts to put news out, to force their hand to actually report the truth, because then if they don't report the truth, then it's obvious that they are hiding something. And there's still so many questions about that. It's obvious the dude didn't blow his brains out right before the thing exploded. It's obvious via video evidence. Go ahead, Chris. You have something to say?
Well, simple question for anybody who wants to answer it. What's the difference between the legacy media and podcasters?
We're not beholden to those people.
Yeah, that's true.
We're not beholden to advertisers.
That's right.
There's doesn't own us.
Yeah, we don't have a dog in the hunt. We're not being compensated millions of dollars by big pharma and everything else, right? I mean, in an election year for legacy media, 50% of their revenues come from big pharma. In a non-presidential election year, it accounts for 75% of the advertising revenue. They are on the hook, and it's just like anything else. Follow the money, and it'll reveal who can take credit for it or should take credit.
Okay, everybody out there, ask yourself this. When was the last time you saw a negative story in the mainstream media about anything to do with big pharma? Theranos, I think, was the last one, just because they made up everything. But beyond that, that's one in the last 8, 10 years, 12 years. Ever since they allowed pharmaceutical companies to advertise, nobody looks at them anymore.
Yep.
It's too much money.
The only thing that came close was on New Year's Eve on CNN, the female comedian that was talking about how Kamala Harris was forced on us, like she was an ingredient from Pfizer or Moderna. And she literally was like, oh, are we still rolling? Expected them to cut her off for that.
Sorry, we're having technical difficulties.
Ever again.
Yes, but and that's probably the most scrutiny on the mainstream media that has actually shot itself at Moderna and Pfizer. But moving on, today was obviously certification day of the election, it being January 6th, and CNN's Jim Acosta. It's such a wonderful, oak tree of a person. Just a disgusting human being that loves to grandstand and loves to get his moments, always thinks that he's owning whoever on the right is speaking. He was really upset that the GOP did not flat out reject Trump on January 6th. I don't know what hole these people crawl into where they don't look at actually what happened in the election. So many people are trying to debunk that it was a landslide, that it was a clear-cut, decisive victory, and that Trump widened his base, and Trump actually has positive approval ratings and all of this stuff, and is really building a coalition of Democrats and Republicans. And they sit in these holes in the ground and only come up to squawk about this stuff and have no idea of the pulse of what's actually going on in the country. Chris, I'll let you take that one right off the bat.
Well, I mean, I'll come at it from 180 degrees opposite, in that they have doubled down on everything that cost them the election. They've doubled down on transgender, mental illness baloney, you name it. And at the end of the day, Obama, Brennan, all the people that are behind the curtain pulling the strings, they're not stupid. They're smart people, and they're downright evil, but they're not stupid. And personally, I think that when they trot somebody out like Jim Acosta here to rage over Trump election, they have less than zero desire to learn from what cost them the election, because they're just going to try and steal the next one. Again, we can go all the way back to Woodrow Wilson. I don't believe we've had a legitimate election except for JFK, and they murdered him. Trump in 2016, you'll recall, right up until the 11th hour, Hillary Clinton, 99% chance she's going to win, but they didn't cheat enough for the tsunami. And then 2024, when we made the election too big to rig by getting more people out to vote. So my point is that we can call them stupid, but really what they are is actors. They're bought and paid for actors to continue pushing their narrative. They're married to their ideology. And that, from my standpoint, that's all it is. It's not that they're stupid and not learning from it. It's that these are paid actors. So that's my 2 cents.
100%. Mike, Jeff, you got anything to say? Go ahead, Jeff. You had your hand up there.
Well, I was just going to say, when's the last time any of these guys were out on the street actually doing journalism? They sit in a chair. They read what somebody sends to them. They are basically trained monkeys. I think about the little monkey with the cymbals who sits there and claps his hands. Or in Zoolander, dance monkeys that dance, the whole male model thing. Acosta is a male model. He doesn't do anything. He's got an IQ barely above room temperature. But he can look stern and say, listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. No, you don't. And we all know it. So shut the hell up and go away.
Yeah, the only person better than with a furrowed brow than Jim Acosta is Mike Pence, and they're both about as useful as a dirty dish rag.
Yeah.
So the answer to your question is, when's the last time you saw one of these guys go out there? Don Lemon has done it multiple times over the course of the past year, and every single time he gets his ass handed to him. You can see the headline here: New Yorker humiliates Don Lemon when he tries insulting him during face-to-face interview. But he goes out and he asks questions where he's expecting the person to agree with the Democrat talking points, and it doesn't happen. People, almost every single one of them, says the exact opposite, and he's blown away that anybody could disagree with their official narrative. It's funny.
Yeah, those are well worth the watch, because the one thing that I think sticks out about that, Chris, and the rest of you guys, is he genuinely is surprised by some of the answers. You can tell the dude, he's like, oh, really? It's like they don't. It's like there's some sort of disconnect that they don't understand that people could actually think in the way that right wing people do, or just conservative.
You live in an echo chamber,
right?
Yeah,
this is true.
How can you possibly believe something other than what I believe? Yeah. And what amazes me is it happens over and over and over again, and he doesn't change.
Well, it's textbook narcissism too.
Yes.
Well, that too, but it's
yes.
like I can't believe you don't agree with me, but I'm brilliant. I'm the most wonderful person in the world, and you don't agree with me. Man, what does that say about you?
Of course you are, Ron Burgundy.
Well,
Exactly.
yeah, but how much of this can you chalk up to him just being a good actor, feigning, all of his surprise? I mean,
I think you can chalk it up to him being an idiot.
for sure.
He is not a smart person. If he was, he wouldn't be a card-carrying liberal.
Yeah,
He would be able to realize that liberal policies lead to misery every frickin' time.
But he clearly has credibility. I mean, he came out and publicly stated that Michael Obama was far prettier than Melania.
Says the gay guy.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. You got stick with interior decorating, okay?
Well, it's like two pigs arguing who's the better racehorse.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something moving on to this next clip. The View always boasts that it gets 3 million views as the top viewed show in daytime television. I think a good portion of that 3 million views are people just looking for clips to laugh at them about or to just point out how insane they are. So let's roll this clip about how we can compare January 6th to World War II and the Holocaust.
I mean, yeah, the hyperbole couldn't be more over the top. It's just ridiculous.
I think we need to find moral clarity, in this country. And I just remember after January 6th, you had someone like Mitch McConnell placing the blame on January 6th where it belonged, squarely on Donald Trump's shoulders. Mm-hmm. And then you started seeing people backtrack that and losing their moral center. You had Condoleezza Rice, I believe, on this very show saying, we need to move on from January 6th. I say no. You don't move on because January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery, we need to never forget because past becomes prologue if you forget any race. I think we need to find.
I feel dumber for watching her.
It is it's just completely and totally tone deaf to history. To even speak about these things in the same exact sentence shows that you have the intelligence of a lima bean. Like you just
don't talk bad about lima beans like that.
That's not fair to lima beans.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're basically just parroting some narrative that was given to you to be grandiose, to be a narcissist, and be able to grandstand and act like you're the moral superior because you see something that no one else sees. The evil behind all of this. Hello. I hear that train coming. It's coming around the bend.
Did everybody else hear that, or was that I just hallucinated?
Yes, I heard the train. I heard a train.
Okay.
And it wasn't my child playing with his train set.
That'd be an awesome train set, man. I want one of those.
It would be. That's an old Lionel train set.
So you guys have anything to add to that just insanity that we just watched? I feel dumber for having watched it.
Well, I was just about to say the exact same thing. We're all dumber for having watched.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
She's a walking, talking IQ reduction agent.
Yeah.
Yes. That whole show is. Anybody that watches that show, any of the 3 million, the 1% of this country's population that watch that show, you guys need to maybe go back to school or something and learn something to run those people off of the air. All right, so we have reached the end of chapter 1, moving on to chapter 2 after this short advertisement for Sawyer Products.
The Sawyer Mini is the most versatile personal filtration system available. It's a perfect solution for backpacking, hiking, hunting, fishing, scouting, international travel, and emergency preparedness. At a mere 2 ounces, the Mini fits in the palm of your hand and can filter up to 100,000 gallons of water from any freshwater lake, river, or stream. The Sawyer Mini has a 0.1 micron absolute pore size. It was tested to 10 million parts of bacteria and 1 million parts of protozoa without a single breakthrough. This is the highest level filters can be tested to, so we're confident these are the highest rates of filtration available.
All right. And for those of you that may be just tuning in for the first time or not aware of how the show is kind of structured, we do it in chapters. Second chapter is usually a catch-all for pertinent news that's going on. And really, it was kind of a quiet day overall. I think that the left is still licking its wounds, but there was one big thing to our neighbors up north that happened, and that was Mr. Trudeau resigned as prime minister of the liberal leadership in Canada and has basically stepped aside as prime minister and the leader of the Liberal Party. This has been coming for a while, and it's very likely that Pierre Poilievre, I don't know how to say his name, so I'm sorry for butchering that. He is the leader of the conservative wing, and actually seems like a very, very intelligent guy. You hear his sound bites and stuff on X all the time. Will probably be able to win election as the next prime minister, as he is the kind of the heir apparent to that. You guys have any? Let's start with Mike, and then we'll go to Jeff, and then Chris to end it up. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Just snap reactions.
Then he said unto Felicia, "Make haste with thy departure."
Nice. We have had some great movie references so far in this episode, and that was the most Shakespearean of Friday that I have ever heard.
Okay.
I agree.
You looked it up. That doesn't count.
Okay.
No, I keep that one in my phone. Yeah, that's my go-to. Bye, Felicia.
Yeah.
But yeah, get out. Everybody's going to be better off with you. Go hang out with your uncles in Havana. Because that dude's a dirtbag. Gotta go. Nice seeing you, but I don't know if anything's going to change. I don't know.
Well, it won't change in the short term because their elections are scheduled for October. And Paul Vieri, or whatever the fuck his name is, nice guy, can't pronounce his name. I don't think he's going to be able to take over until then, because they have regularly scheduled elections in October. He is a true conservative. I think the country will be much better when the conservatives take over. But like when Kamala lost and Biden had 3 months to screw over the U.S., he's got 10 months to screw over Canada. And how much damage can he do in the meantime? Oh, God, who knows? But he's just a horrible, horrible person. Yeah. And he does not give a rat's ass about his electorate. They suffer, they're in pain, and all he can do is, great, we're going to freeze your bank accounts because you're protesting against me. He should be in jail. Him and Biden should be in jail next to each other, sharing a chamber pot, not even a toilet, they should have to take a crap in a bucket together. But they have done so much damage. Oh my, and I feel so sorry for Canadians, because Canada was America Light. Sorry. Canada was America Light. And he turned them into Soviet Union Light. It's just not fair to the people up there. They're good folks. Been to Canada a bunch, been through there. Nice people. They don't deserve this.
Yeah.
I love the Canadian people. I absolutely do. I got a lot of good friends that are okay, they're Canuckastanis, right? Which is what I like to call them, right? And they're great. But they're our cousins, right? They're our crazy little hat on the north.
Yeah.
They're being They're being repressed by their country. Their human rights are being stripped from them. They have oil and natural resources. We've gone to war for way less. I'm just saying.
Canada's like us. Their coasts are uber liberal, but the middle part of the country is conservative. You go to Saskatchewan and Alberta, they don't like what Ottawa does. They don't like what Vancouver does.
No.
They're Kansas, they're Nebraska, Montana. And it's a shame that they have to put up with this crap.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Chris, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, first and foremost, I would add that Justin Trudeau is one of the first graduates of Klaus Schwab's Young Global Leaders program with the World Economic Forum. And Klaus Schwab likes to brag on how he has multiple pawns, essentially, serving in government cabinets as well as high up to being government leaders, like Justin Trudeau. We know how to spell his name, but in our world, he's a turd, so we call him Trudeau. I don't know anybody in Canada who likes this guy or who backs him. And it's actually a really good example of how brilliant the electoral college system is. Okay. So the electoral college system has saved us from mob rule, which is what democracy is. And if we didn't have that in place, essentially LA County, Cook County, and New York City would decide who our president was every 4 years, and not a word that any of us else had to say would matter whatsoever. Now, I personally think that the founding fathers should have brought that down to the state and the county level, because you end up with what's going on in Canada as an example. You take the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, somewhere around, say, 8 million people. 10% or less are actually born in Canada and are WASPs for that matter. Whatever the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, votes for, that's who wins the federal elections in Canada. And, it's a horrible system, because the people outside of that area are, just like Jeff said, no different than us at all. They're, God-fearing Christians. You okay, Jeff?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, Dan Crenshaw is also a young leader of the World Economic Forum. Keep that in mind, Mr. Rhino Eye Patch.
Dan Crenshaw,
AOC.
Yep.
They're all part of it.
AOC, they had baristas at the World Economic Forum?
Yeah.
Yes, so.
So Cliff Notes version, Klaus Schwab's father was a Nazi, but he had dual citizenship between Switzerland and Germany. And he was responsible for the death of many people during World War II. When the Nuremberg trial started, though, he retreated to Switzerland and said, I'm from Switzerland, I'm not German. And he managed to get away with it, but he profited tremendously off of the Nazi machine. And when he passed away, late 60s, early 70s, something like that, he left somewhere around $30 million to Klaus. Klaus Schwab's never had a job his entire life. And the WEF dates back to 1971 is when he formed that organization. Was relatively quiet on the international stage until the early 1990s. And that's when the Young Global Leaders thing came out. So another example would be Jacinda Ardern, the one who was the prime minister of New Zealand, right? And essentially what's gone on all these years with the World Economic Forum, nobody's elected these people. Nobody supports these people, but they're all pursuing their Agenda 2030 to have one world government. And, the climate change bullshit is all to scare the entire world to the point where we have to have one world government to combat this evil, to save the world. Humanity is going to die if we don't do this. And at the end of the day, they all are singing from Klaus Schwab's book. So whether it's Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Great Britain, whatever, France, they're all in pursuit of the same asinine goals, not because they're stupid, but because they get their marching orders from Klaus Schwab. And Klaus Schwab in turn gets his marching orders from the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, all the money that's at the very top. But my concern for Canada is, I don't know much about this Pierre Poilievre, or however the heck you pronounce his name, but the WEF is so entrenched in Canada, it would not surprise me if he's in cahoots with Klaus Schwab and the WEF as well. I don't know if he's a legit contender or not. I don't think he's a legit contender anywhere near what Donald Trump has been, for example, who's clearly not part of the WEF establishment. But I'll leave it at that. All things considered, this is a good day for Canada to get rid of this piece of crap.
Yep. It's all good stuff. But Trump actually has an idea, and this is a bold strategy, Cotton. And Trump is musing about Canada as the 51st state post-Trudeau era.
Reference, by the way.
Yes.
So, something amusing, the symbolic nature of today in Justin Trudeau stepping down the day that Donald Trump certified as the winner kind of cracks me up. That's an interesting symbolic day, I think.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I think that this is a part of, we did a whole episode on this a couple of weeks ago, I think, where we really talked about the reality and what it actually could look like. The reality is we're probably not going to make Canada a state or a group of states. A group of states would be more likely, but that kind of affects us pretty heavily with electoral college, all of that kind of stuff. I still think that if they did that and we ended up with 5 or 6 states, there would be several that would be conservative and several that would be liberal. You wouldn't have these pockets in Ontario and Quebec and all of these places overruling the rural areas in the middle of Canada. But I think it's a part of a strategy of, if you historically look at Donald Trump, he's always trying to figure out how to wedge a deal and how to make things better for the people that he is defending throughout his business career. It was himself and the people that worked for him. And now it's the American people. He is the ultimate deal maker. And he is trying to negotiate something between us and Canada that whether it be them becoming U.S. territory or possibly a state, I think that's a less likely outcome. But it's definitely him working his magic in negotiation. We'll see this over the next couple of slides. Jeff, I'll let you start off with this.
Real quick though, what you do is you tell. He probably told Trudeau, "You step down. I'll make you governor." Greenland.
Right. That's funny. I personally think if Canada were to become a territory, that would make more sense for everybody. Right. They would be able to maintain their form of government. They would have a high level of autonomy. Would probably be much more palatable to many Canadians, but they would fall under our umbrella from both an economic and military standpoint. So I personally think that would be a better path forward. Although it's interesting, we do have some articles coming up that Don Jr. is on his way to Greenland right now. So if Greenland was to become a state or a territory and Canada was to become a territory, it would we'd be the most powerful country in the world. And here's my last comment on all of this. The world right now is aligning itself in major geographical / economic blocks. Okay. So you've got China and their Belt and Road program, where they go into these second and third world countries and say, we want to invest in your infrastructure. We'll give you these low interest loans, knowing full well that the countries will not be able to pay them back and that they will absorb those countries as part of the Chinese empire. So it's no different than the European Union trying to band together. You've got initiatives through China happening in Africa. And at the end of the day, there's strength in numbers. So if we were to put Greenland, Canada, and America together, we would be a force to contend with. So,
yeah, 100%. We go to the next one, article about him calling for Canada to merge with the U.S. And a merger can look obviously in different ways, very, very differently depending on how it's worked out. Mike, what are your thoughts on this? I didn't heard from you on this yet.
As much as I would love to have, Canada as the 51st through 60th states and then 2 extra territories, I mean, it would be great. I don't know if it would really work out for everybody, but I don't see it happening. I think I see this. I smell smoke screen here. You know, give everybody, you know, give the people that we don't like something shiny to look at. You know, they'll freak out over that while we're working on other plans over here. I mean, it would benefit everybody. I just don't know if it would work out. Greenland, on the other hand, Denmark gets nothing out of Greenland. They really, I don't know what the benefit would be for them out of it. And Denmark is, I think they're heavily in debt as well somewhere out there. I think a bunch of it's to us. I don't know.
Hey, you know, you can exchange this land for a very low price. You can exchange this land for your debts.
I mean, we've already got basing rights on the place. You know,
Yeah.
we've got a whole bunch of air bases for NATO.
Yep.
On there. Most of them are never used, but we've got them.
The key to all of this is that Greenland is an insanely mineral rich country and land.
Except it's buried under 2 miles of ice.
True that, but
Little problem.
I think that it comes through. This is strategic in the fact that we are seeing China consolidate into places like Afghanistan and other countries that they have moved into since we withdrew to get a hold of minerals. China is all about grabbing up minerals across the world. There's a real problem with them having the control of all of that kind of stuff. It's one of the biggest reasons why Taiwan is such a strategic, has such strategic importance, is because of their manufacture of certain kinds of wafer boards for computer chips that are used in high level electronics in defense contractors and everything else. So this is clearly him seeing that there is an issue that needs to be addressed on our end, you know, specifically with mineral deposits and all of that kind of stuff, that we cannot rely on countries that are under the control of China.
Okay, I'm going to posit two different things. One, the whole thing with Canada was a way to undermine Trudeau to make him look weak, and he is weak, and he resigned. Okay, that's one. The other one is more of a long-term strategy based on Trump being a child of the 60s and 70s. If you look at what he wants to acquire, it's a risk board, the game Risk.
Yep.
Canada, Greenland, all of North America. He is trying to replicate the Risk board. And if you've ever played Risk, the properties you want, North America, baby. You can't defend Asia, too many ways to attack it. Africa, not enough resources. South America, same thing. North America is where you got to be, and he understands that because he played Risk as a kid.
The part of that "We're America, bitch" universe or generation, you know, the 1980s. We're America, bitch. Get out of our way. It's my favorite.
What about Risk, man? I'm telling you, it's the game. It's the board game Risk.
That's actually, I hadn't even thought about that. But having been an avid Risk player in my younger years, you're absolutely correct. North America is you win North America, and maybe you have an alliance in North America.
If you have half a brain, you win the game.
Oh yeah, nobody can take you.
Yep. And that's true in real life. You know, the reason that we have such a large navy is to prevent this stuff from happening, and that's also the reason that nobody invades America, is because it's extremely hard to do.
The Monroe Doctrine has been in effect since early 1800s.
Yep.
For a reason.
Yep.
Yeah, and then which president was it that publicly abandoned the Monroe Doctrine?
Was it Carter?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably.
And then somebody reinstated it, and I want to say it was
Reagan.
Yeah, Reagan.
Yeah, Grenada.
Yeah, but nobody talks about it anymore.
No.
Yep.
Yeah, we should have kicked the communists out of Cuba in 1959 and been done with it. We would have sent a message, and the rest of the Western Hemisphere would have gone, okay, we know what line not to cross.
And let the mob run it.
It's the whole thing, and we're kind of getting off on a tangent, but we do that here on Survival Dispatch News. It's the real reason that Trump was so good on the foreign policy front in his first term, and I think will be equally as good this go around, is because he shows strength. He's not afraid to make decisive decisions. That all of our other politicians are like, oh, well, what about the political ramifications? Or, oh, we don't want to poke the bear. Like, dude, nobody is going to screw with us because they know that if we really want to win a war, we can win a war. The problem is we let politics get so involved in war that we don't actually unleash our full power. And that's the reality of it. Last time we really unleashed our full power was probably World War II.
He's not a diplomat. He's a businessman.
Exactly. Everything is
when
black.
The Abraham Accords with Bahrain and Dubai were, it is in your best economic interests to normalize relations with Israel. You're an important power in the region. They're an important power in the region. Bahrain was a huge banking center in the region. All three of you want to make money. This is how you do it.
Right.
Quit hating each other. Start cooperating. You don't have to like them.
Yep.
But you walk away. How many of us have done business with people we probably would never go have a beer with?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I have.
Absolutely.
But it's business.
Yep.
That's what it boils down to.
Yep. And on a side note, I would gladly have a beer with each and every one of you guys.
You say that now.
Yeah, you don't know how many bags of cash that this guy down here has handed off to, ruthless Afghan warlords.
Oh,
just a couple. Just a couple.
I keep forgetting we have a spook and probably being recorded by the CIA right now.
Well, if they are, they're probably going to yank my pension, but so be it. I stopped, and then you die.
So this is the article of Don Jr. is expected to land in Greenland tomorrow, which it's interesting timing because now that we have a certified election, Donald Trump is the official president-elect. There really at this point is no legal recourse. That's what made January 6th 4 years ago so important. And Mike Pence screwed the pooch on it, was that it was the last time that we could actually put a halt to the transfer of power. And it is historically that. So the wheel, I think, and I'm making a prediction here. I think you're going to see these wheels really start to turning, and it's going to basically be like the cars peeling out on January 20th. It's just going to be like you're going to see the engine start to rev up on all of this stuff that he's been talking about, and everything to kind of go into full action. And on January 20th, buckle up, guys, because we're going to get shot out like we're on jet fuel.
You will know we have won if Obama leaves DC.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jeff. That's a really good point. Anybody have anything else? I think we've covered Greenland a little bit, pretty well right now. So I think that we're, we can move on to New York. The wonderful, wonderful bastion of freedom and low crime rates. Apparently, being incinerated in a subway, being stabbed in a subway, being constantly threatened in a subway is in people's heads. Like, Chris, I don't know. I guess all these videos must be just deep fake type things going on. Oh, it looks like, Governor Kathy Hochul went down to the subway, probably with dozens of armed guards.
National Guard right there.
You can see her here schmoozing with the National Guard troops. I don't think she would venture down there at 11 o'clock at night and just by herself with no security. And this is the common problem with all of these elitist pieces of crap. Is they don't, they want to take away our ability to defend ourselves, like New York has, and consistently, even when ruled against by the Supreme Court, consistently puts a middle finger up to people being able to defend themselves with guns or even knives. And if you do step in, as we saw with Daniel Penny, I think that's his name, right? As we saw with him protecting people and had to have his life on the line for just being a good Samaritan, for just stopping crime and the threat of serious bodily injury or death by a crazed drug addict. What the heck kind of country is this? I'm going to go to you first, Mike, and let you talk through this.
I mean, I was on the New York subways earlier this year, and Chris will remembers. I mean, I was freaked out as could be. I let me see, how many jars of pepper spray can I carry at one time? And I need backups to tasers and more tasers. Give me the more extra tasers. I need taser holsters. And the place it is bad. I wouldn't go there. I went there for a family thing, and that was the only reason. And yeah, I'm not going back. I'm not doing it. It is so much worse than I remember.
Yep. It's 100% this. And the fact that they just continue to say it's all in your head. You know, it's gaslighting beyond anything that I could ever imagine. And Jeff, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I cased New York City for a training exercise for the CIA back in the early 2000s. It was after 9/11, but the city was still under the influence of Giuliani, and poor Bloomberg went nuts. I felt no problem there. I'd walk anywhere in that city, day or night. The first day I calculated I walked 34 miles. So many miles that my toenails turned black and I pulled them off that night. But nothing new. The city was great. I would see people, they were walking their dogs. I'd stop and talk to them. The city was great. Now it's a freaking hellhole. I have a niece who lives there. She's like, yeah, that person who was murdered was, a block from my house, and she lives in Manhattan, and it's an insane asylum. And it has gone from decent, nice, actually a nice city. I've been to big cities all over the world, and New York in the early 2000s was not a bad city. But now it's a total shit show. Never on the subways of New York, and I've ridden all over from top to bottom, did I ever feel threatened. Yeah, there are some whack jobs and they're begging and panhandling stuff, but never have I felt threatened that, oh my God, I'm going to have to defend myself in a life and death situation. And that's what it is now. It's insane.
Agreed. Well said. I don't have anything to add to that, Chris. Or you have anything to add to this insanity that is the crime-riddled New York City?
No, I would just add that there's 4 pretty big buckets of crime, including murder and rape, and they're up anywhere from 200 to 300% year over year on the New York subways compared to previous years on the subways. So there have been some people who've been saying, this has been happening all along. It's just that the press is shining a light on it. I don't know. Maybe that's the case for some crimes, but the violent crimes, it's not that all of a sudden they're reporting. It is absolutely skyrocketing under the BS from Kathy Hochul and Eric Adams. They're and Alvin Bragg. Let's be clear. Alvin Bragg is a DA or a Soros DA and refuses to prosecute crimes or gives people a slap on the wrist. Every single morning, there's at least one case in my news feed of a criminal who has a rap sheet a mile long who was released and has reoffended. And it's typically violent crime, rape, those sort of things. The rate of recidivism in New York is off the chain because they don't pursue the right charges, because they're married to this ideology of, the police are racist, and because the police are racist, the legal system's racist. The legal system's not racist. The legal system is polluted by privately owned penal institutions that lobby, for people to be incarcerated for extended periods of time. And one of the best ways to do that is to keep putting these offenders back out on the street until they do something, that's beyond the pale. And then they've got their $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 a year to lock that person up the rest of their life. It's all money. It's always follow money.
Yep. It's corruption. There's full on corruption from the top to the bottom. And I mean, you want to know who Alvin Bragg is? Just look, he's the dude that's trying to prosecute Trump. For unlawfully on garbage charges. And election certification was done today in the middle of a snowstorm. I can attest to the snowstorm because I'm right smack dab in the middle of it. And
snowed here too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the craziest snowstorms probably in 10 to 15 years, as far as like the amount of snow that just got dumped on an area that doesn't typically get huge snowstorms.
Well, it's weather manipulation so that we can keep the leftists out of the Capitol so they wouldn't riot today.
Actually, I thought it was global warming or climate change.
Climate change, yeah. You can't say warming. There's 3 inches.
Well, climate change. Toyota. Sorry, I didn't get the brief this morning.
Yeah. I always love when I hear them slip and say global warming, because that was the narrative of like 1999. And they had to change it to climate change because, oh, crap, we still have massive ice storms, guys. Yeah. Let's just use something that we can attribute everything to. Never mind history.
This is how old I am. I remember back in the 60s, my dad, when we lived in Iowa, having to jump out the second story balcony of our house with a snow shovel so he could dig out our doors so we could get out of the My bedroom was on the second floor and the bottom half was the snow drifting up against our house.
This is starting to sound like, son, when I was your age, I had to walk 10 miles in the
damn right, I
both ways in the snow barefoot.
Because you're both you're all children.
Folks,
okay, boomer.
In Arizona.
I live in Arizona because I don't want to deal with that shit.
You're supposed to be yelling at a cloud right now.
All good comedy. See, this is why the left sucks so bad. Is we are having a great time joking about some pretty serious things, and this one's not also very serious, but. This is why we have our sense of humor as we're going into oblivion and the end of the world. We maintain it. So this is a really, really big deal. They actually touched on this at the tail end of there were a ton of people. I would actually encourage everybody, it's a couple hours long, go on X and listen to the entire Sean Ryan space. It's still up. You guys can listen to it post it being live. They talk about terrorism, the last probably 45 minutes of that. And there's a lot of experts in that, intelligence officers, Air Force, CIA, former people, all good, God-fearing Americans that are tired of this all being hidden in front of our very faces. But House Intel Committee Chair Mike Turner of Ohio is confirming that terrorists are inside of our country, working in conjunction with ISIS. We saw what happened on New Year's Day. New Year's Eve. That was the guy had an ISIS flag in his truck. I think that's just the beginning of what we're going to be seeing, and it's important. Go ahead and play that video, Chris.
Chair Turner. Shortly after that, you said on this program, we have terrorists that are actively working inside the United States that are a threat to Americans. Do you know if there are active terror cells in the United States right now?
Well, I think the issue of cells, and you and I were talking about that at the beginning of the show, are there individuals that are affiliated with ISIS and terrorist groups and organizations that have crossed the border, that are inside the United States? Director Wray, FBI director, has said so. We certainly have intelligence that says so. I agree with his assessment. Jim has also seen it. He's testified before our committee publicly of that fact. Those individuals are working in conjunction with ISIS with the intention of harming Americans. The director has said it directly.
They are known to U.S. intelligence and law enforcement.
And we are working diligently to try to take them down, to prevent them from doing so. And that's why the director is publicly saying such. And that's what the new administration is going to be handed. The fact that these individuals are here, that we need to locate them, we need to remove them, we need to bring them to justice and prevent them from doing harm to Americans.
As a former CIA spook, we'll call Jeff, what are your thoughts on this this terrorism? We did a whole episode on Islam and the history of Islam and how they take over and try and impose their will on countries that they infiltrate. But what is your opinion of all of this threats of terror and the open border? You live down there in Arizona, so you're right next to it.
Yeah. First, let me say I'm shocked. I'm shocked that there's gambling going on in this establishment. Esoteric Casablanca reference. Yeah, this is okay. Captain Obvious would even say, "Wow, that's obvious." They're coming out and saying this. What? 5 days after an ISIS terrorist killed 14 people in New Orleans.
15.
Well, no, the 15 that is him. He doesn't count. He's a scumbag. He deserves to die. 14 innocent people. But my point is, no shit. Tell us something we don't know. Water is wet. Birds fly. It's almost insulting that they're admitting, wow, we let in terrorists over the last 4 frickin' years, 13 million people. And when they come up to the border and we ID them and we find out they're on the terrorist watch list, what do? We parole them into the country. This is the stupidest thing I can ever imagine. It'd be like a fox walking up to Mike's house and saying, I know I look like a fox. I'm really a chicken. Let me into your hen house. And Mike goes, yeah, sure. Okay.
That sounds
and then
reasonable.
All your chickens are dead the next day. That's what this is. These people are freaking morons. And more importantly, they think we are too. Everybody knows this is happening.
Yeah.
Don't pretend it's news.
Yep.
What we need to do is find the people who let them in and put them in leg irons.
Yes. Agreed. Well said. Mike, I know you're not a foxist, so I'm going to let you go next.
He is.
Yeah. Actually, I'm a big racist.
Yeah.
I really am. It's kind of rough. I am exceedingly racist. I hate Martians. And honestly, I think we need to invade Mars and take their lithium.
There you go.
Yeah.
But, go ahead.
The same thing goes for this idiot here. These guys are like, oh my God, there's terrorists in this company or in this country. We've all been screaming this for years out in the open. But you know what they say? They're like, oh, they're podcasters. They're right. Obviously the tinfoil is affecting their heads and they couldn't possibly know what the hell's going on.
Well, and I know you guys have been, even before I even came on board on Survival Dispatch News, speaking of this and a lot of older episodes. You think about Sean Ryan's first episode with Sarah Adams, Superbad, was over a year ago talking about this stuff. And now we know that Osama bin Laden's son is the leader of what they call the Islamic Army. And this is where we get into this stuff of they're not actually telling you the full truth. Even this guy from Ohio, Mike Turner, is not telling you this whole truth, is that this is much bigger than just ISIS. ISIS is a fall guy for the Islamic Army. The reality is this is well orchestrated, and all of these Islamic terrorist organizations are waging war against our country, and we have freaking let them in with no thought of what the ramifications were. And the current administration, soon to be out, has done this for 4 years. So how many have come in? Tens of thousands, probably. And Chris, I'm going to give you the last word on this, because this is kind of a follow-up to what we talked about yesterday, but it's really serious, and people don't realize the severity of it, I think.
Yeah. So Mike, Don Mann, and myself, we started really pushing this 2 years ago, 2 years and a few months actually. And in the 1990s, it's well known, we had solid intel that there were somewhere around 300 Hezbollah sleeper cells alone in America. That number now is in the thousands. Some of those cells may have one person, some of them may have 50 people in them. They're really, really big numbers. And what Sarah said last week is something that we have been preaching for a couple of years. There's a high likelihood that the next time we are attacked, it'll be what's called a swarm attack, meaning that they will attack multiple places simultaneously across the country. A really egregious piece of intel that's been kicking around for 20 years at least is that a dozen terror cells attack a dozen schools in a small county, population 100 to 200,000. Even with mutual aid, law enforcement can only respond to one of those locations. Then the next day, you have 11 cells that go and attack 11 schools in the next small county. And when the JTTF played this whole thing out, which again, this is 20-year-old intel, by day 3, nobody was sending their kids to school. Nobody was going to work, and the whole country implodes economically speaking, right? So, I mean, personally, I think that the danger from drones can't be overstated. And that's something that we were amongst the first people to be banging that drum. And it doesn't take a whole lot of money and a whole lot of technical expertise for one operator to control hundreds, if not thousands of drones. The Hollywood software, which is open source for controlling drones for light shows, it used to be one operator could control up to 5,000 drones. That software has now been modified to handle well over 10,000 drones from one operator. And that's how you see those crazy light shows that the Chinese in particular love. But I mean, it's everything from aerosolized fentanyl. There's 1,400 analogs of fentanyl. We have signatures on 200 of them. If you go from, say, the base analog of fentanyl to remifentanil or carfentanil, they're 50 times more powerful than the base analog is. So the potential death count is through the roof. But as Mike always states, you don't have to have a super high death count. You can kill one and terrorize 1,000. Although I will say that there's credible intel out now saying that Hezbollah's next attack, they are aiming for 50 to 60,000 Americans to be killed. Yeah. So if that was going to happen in one venue, that's like a football game, a concert, but if it's spread out across the country, imagine they hit a bunch of college football games on a Saturday across the entire country. You'd wipe out more than 50,000 people.
A bunch of high school football games on a Friday.
There you go.
Yep. Well, and I said that the scariest thing is a school bus. School buses do not have security on them anywhere in the country. Schools, some of them have hardened security, some of them don't. Mm-hmm. And it's minimal security. And this is one thing I'm going to echo some of the stuff that Sean Ryan has been saying here recently. This is, and we'll get to this in the marching orders, but I'm going to say it now. Go to your freaking school board meetings. Demand that they take security measures. Give them the information so that they, a lot of these, I know a lot of the people in the school board, and I'm going to be going to school board meetings, and I'm going to be demanding, hey, we need to know the security for our kids, because this stuff is not to be messed around with. This stuff is not to be taken lightly. Think of the terror of just doing a dozen school buses in random rural areas across the country. You kill 500 kids in those school buses total, and all of a sudden, you shut the country down. I'm not sending my kids to school if there's multiple attacks like that across the country. No freaking way. And that kills our economy and grinds and that's not what this is about. This is about human lives. It's, the economy be damned, but human lives are the most important, and our innocent children are the most important things to protect. But man, this is something. We have let an anaconda wrap around our body, and we have one chance to get free. And if we don't get free before it locks in, we're going to get squeezed and we're going to die. And that's just the reality of it. So moving on, find my place here. Oh, this is a fantastic video. This shows the media's framing and how they instantly frame things based off of circumstances that they see. And this is for everybody to take a lesson, take notes on this. This is how you handle and dismantle racist narratives. Go ahead and play that video.
You all right?
Are you okay? Oh, I'm feeling better than ever.
You all right?
Yes, I'm all right.
Are you racist?
Am I what?
What are you think of these people now? Why?
I just want to clarify with her accent there. She's asking if he is a racist.
You stay
You said,
here.
are you racist? Am I racist?
Yeah.
No, I'm not a racist. Why do you ask that?
Well,
Why is it that people who stand up for America and who want to protect our own borders, why are we always trying to be backed up with the racist thing? I'm standing here with a black man. If I was a racist, this is my brother right here. If I'm standing with him, how can I be a racist?
Are you a racist?
No.
So why would you ask him if he's a racist?
Well, let me see.
Why would you ask that question?
Why
I'd
you
like to know
stay
why
here?
You asking him because he's white and you want to get away with this racist remark. Are you a racist?
No.
So why is it that he a racist because he's standing up
Do you
for the
like
country?
the Latin people? Do you like
Do
them?
you like them? No. Do you like them?
Yeah,
Do you like
Latin
America?
people.
Do you like America?
Yeah.
Then what's the problem? You should be out here picking it with us. That's a dumb question to ask. You're asking that question so you can use it on your program to make him look like a racist. Why don't you ask me am I racist? Because I'm black, right? I love America too, and I think these illegal aliens need to be shipped back to their country. So why is that racist? You're a racist for asking him that question.
Thank you, Jesse.
And you're only doing it because he's white, and that's what you're going to show on your report tonight. You shouldn't play that kind of game. That's a dumb question.
Shame on you.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Yes.
You're in America taking advantage of all the benefits that America has to offer, and your only comment, are you a racist? That doesn't make any sense.
We need to find these two guys and we need to buy them a beer because that was beautiful. Her abuela would have beat her ass for doing that.
And that's exactly how you flip the script on the framing, because what you have to do is you have to reject the premise of these questions. Do not engage on the premise. This is something that the right has been historically horrible at, is rejecting the premise and saying, no, we're not going to answer this because your premise is completely framed to make us look like a certain way that you want us to look. And that's exactly how you handle it. You flip it around and you say, no, we're not going to argue on your premise. You're going to argue on mine. So moving on, we'll move a little bit quicker. We're getting close to 2 hours in, so we'll start moving a little bit quicker. I'm going to give typically what we do, and I'm going to we'll start with Jeff on this one, and then I'll just go around for the remaining ones and give you guys
against Starbucks, ordered to pay more than $25 million to a former employee who says she was fired because she's white.
This morning, a $25.6 million victory for a white former Starbucks employee who accused the coffee giant of racial discrimination. A New Jersey jury unanimously siding with the former regional manager, Shannon Phillips, claiming her race was a determinative factor in Starbucks' decision to fire her. Phillips wasn't present the day this viral video was recorded showing the arrest of two black men. According to court documents, Starbucks claimed Phillips appeared overwhelmed, frozen, and lacked awareness of how critical the situation was for Starbucks and its partners, and that all actions taken by Starbucks with respect to Ms. Phillips were for legitimate, non-discriminatory, non-retaliatory reasons. A black district manager testifying via Zoom that he thought Phillips's race played into Starbucks' decision to fire her, and that his race was a reason he was not terminated.
Now, we did reach out to Starbucks.
Yeah, this
Jeff,
is the,
I'm going to give you.
Yeah, this is
Go ahead.
I think the Philadelphia incident, and what they did is they went up the line until they could find someone who wasn't of color and then fire them for it. Yeah, this woman was not the manager of the store who had the guys arrested. She is not even the regional manager of the store who was in charge of the manager who had the guy arrested. She was further up. So the Russians used to call, they had the vertical stroke. Somebody screws up, they fired everybody up the chain of command. Well, with Starbucks, they went all the way up the chain of command until they hit someone who wasn't a protected group and then fired that person. yeah, good on her. And the jury saw through. And this is a Philadelphia jury, by the way. This is not a jury in Kansas. This is not a jury in North Dakota. This is a jury in Philadelphia. And they still found a Starbucks libel. So she should get every damn penny and enjoy spending it as she wishes.
Yep. And this needs to happen more.
Yes.
All right, Mike, I'm going to give you this next one on the Dalai Lama. Apparently is a far-right MAGA bigot extremist based off of this video.
The Middle East want to stay in Europe. Shouldn't they be allowed to?
Limited number, okay. But the whole Europe eventually become Muslim country, impossible. Or African country, also impossible.
There's nothing wrong with that, is there? I mean, you're a refugee yourself.
They themselves, I think, better to their own land, climatically. Much better. Europe too cold.
My parents moved from India to the UK. That's now their home. That's okay too, isn't it? If Indians or anyone else wants to live in Europe.
I think England, the small island, 90% become Indian. Then I don't know.
I couldn't understand shit that he said, but it's funny.
Yeah,
he is
the
one of the
backstory of this,
nicest
real quick.
guys ever. I did a protection detail for him. He is awesome. Blessed my EOD coin, so I got that going for me, which is nice.
That is too funny.
Movie reference.
Yeah, so there's actually a longer version of this that I've watched, and she's basically asking him, how do you feel about immigration? And his whole premise is, no, I think they, a little bit is fine, but people should stay in their own countries, because infiltrating, and this was all of yesterday's episode of talking about the infiltration of Islam into Europe and eventually the United States. So I'll let you speak to it, Mike, because he had a very, very clear answer on this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's a very common sense answer. It's like, oh, okay, you have contiguous societies. You can't bring a whole bunch of outsiders in. They're gonna mess up the contiguous society that's there. It doesn't work. It's been tried how many times? That's called invasions. Yeah, it just doesn't work. And I mean, he's an exceedingly wise man. And I got some great stories about that guy too, but he knows what he's talking about, and you should really, really trust him on this one. He spends a lot of time thinking, and yeah, I'd listen to him if I were
read a little bit of history too.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
Because historically, that's what he's speaking to is wisdom based off of historical evidence. And that is what we see, all cultures are not the same, and not all cultures are equal. And when you start mixing them, you have problems. Chris, you get a fun one. Mr. Gunther Eagleman. Anybody want to know who Pete Hegseth is? Looks like he has the votes required to be confirmed after some very, I would say, very extreme strong arming of these rhinos that were thinking of voting against him and using bullcrap as the reason. But let's go ahead and play this video to know who Pete Hegseth is if you don't already know.
The Pentagon is in the book the exact amount of years, but in the past X number of years, 10, 12, 15, the Pentagon has a perfect record in all of its war games against China. We lose every time inside the Pentagon war games. We know what our real capability. You see, we didn't even get to this part of the war on warriors. I mean, the military-industrial complex, the way we procure weapon systems. We're always, the way our system works, the way our bureaucratic system works, where the speed of weapons procurement works, we're always a decade behind in fighting the last war. Whereas China, we have what did Rumsfeld say? You go to the war, the army you have. We have the army. China's building an army specifically dedicated to defeating the United States of America. That is their strategic outset. Take hypersonic missiles. So if our whole power projection platform is aircraft carriers and the ability to project power that way strategically around the globe, and yeah, we have a nuclear triad and all of that, but a big part of it. And if 15 hypersonic missiles can take out our 10 aircraft carriers in the first 20 minutes of a conflict, what does that look like?
Yeah. Chris, I'll turn it over to you because that's a big OG's question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the guy to answer the hypersonic missiles question. That would be Mike's territory. But I will remind our audience that we've had a bunch of Navy SEALs on who are personally friends with Pete Hegseth and support him. One of them, Bill Brown, it works for a very prominent legal firm now, Palatori, I think is the name of it, in New Jersey. And he'll be back actually again tomorrow night with a group of other SEALs to basically say, this is why we support Pete Hegseth. This is why we want him. And I'll just make one comment. Every single conversation that I've had with Bill Brown and his group, and keep in mind, he's buddies with Pete Hegseth, one word has been continually repeated in those conversations, and that's lethality. And basically their position is that anything that relates to anything other than lethality shouldn't even be part of the conversation. Our military should focus on lethality. End of story. And I couldn't agree more. This is the guy that we need at this point in time to get this woke bullshit out of our military, this transgender mental illness, and get back to lethality, period. Full stop. That's all I got to say. And Mike can probably answer your hypersonic missile question, though.
Yeah, on that, actually, if anybody in the audience really wants to listen to it, and the details of it, habitual line crosser. He is a missile guy. He teaches air defense studies at the Air Defense University out in Oklahoma. So he had a great discussion specifically on it, and honestly, everything that I know about hypersonic stuff I got from him. But the big thing is we've been running hypersonics ever since the early 1950s, right? With the V2s. But the big problem is nobody has and any missile that can go exo-atmospheric becomes hypersonic. The big key is how to have a hypersonic missile that is hypersonic during its final terminal phase. And the problem is we're the only ones that are close to that.
And it's not even hypersonic at the terminal phase. Gravity does that. It is maneuverable hypersonics.
Right.
If you can do hypersonic in level flight that you can maneuver, you've got a leg up on everyone. Yep. Every ICBM since the 50s is hypersonic. Their re-entry speed is 13 to 15,000 miles per hour. That's hypersonic.
And there we go. Project Thor. Yep. That's not a real thing.
Not at all.
One of you guys want to explain what Project Thor is, what the rods of God are?
So essentially, these are a tungsten telephone pole with a little bit of guidance stuff on it, and you just drop these things out of orbit. That's what the theory says. Not that it exists or anything.
No,
you drop these things out of orbit just onto whatever target you want, and it will hit with what was the estimate? Somewhere around 50 kilotons equivalent. Something like that.
If you want to do the math, look at the size of a telephone pole, figure out the volume, figure out the density of tungsten, and then look at terminal velocity, and energy equals mass times velocity squared. So if the velocity is, 15,000 miles per hour, square that, multiply it by the weight of a tungsten telephone pole, and that'll tell you how much energy it has on impact.
Yeah.
It's basic Newtonian physics.
Yeah. It's completely 100% clean as a whistle because there's no explosives. There's no
Nothing nuclear.
Nothing nuclear, no radioactive material, nothing like that. It just goes through reentry and smacks you really hard.
It is the stellar version of a discarding sabot round from a tank, except it's going, I don't know, 2,000 times faster.
Yeah, something like that.
And it weighs 2,000 times more.
Not to mention the massive temperature increase that it's gone through during reentry. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's redonkulous.
Yeah, it really is. Basically, this is what happens when somebody who got their lunch money stolen too many times and get crammed into lockers goes to work for Lockheed Martin or those folks. They put them in a dark room with a bottle of tequila and a scratch pad and just say, just go to work.
Yeah, you want to imagine Billy back in high school? How would you do it? How about this?
Yeah.
How would you delete him off of the face of the planet? Yeah. Yep. Crazy stuff. And velocity is the killer of everything when it comes to that. Next up, we have this guy, and I'll let Jeff speak to this one. We're going to kind of go around the table for each one of these and give each one of you one of the remaining ones. Starmer blasts far-right calls for inquiry into groomer gang failures. Complains about misinformation on X. This has come to light with a lot of the information coming out of the UK on the vast number of childhood rapes that are going on at the hands of the Islamic immigrants that are coming in. Jeff, I'll let you.
This boils down to how dare you catch me lying about raping children? What does that say about you? No, he's a scumbag. He should be in prison. And good on X, good on Elon for saying, "Oh, WTF? What are you guys doing?" They are literally covering up for Pakistani gangs grooming and raping thousands of young British girls of all races. And the reason they didn't go after him is because it would have cost them votes in the election. It's just the epitome of evil.
Well, and he defended the BBC star that raped 400 children, and gosh, just disgusting people. If you are, I'll go back to biblical references here. It says it's better for a man to have a millstone tied around his neck and be cast into the sea than to hurt one of these little ones. And that's the truth. These people should be bound and thrown into the ocean, never to return. Or even worse practices. But moving on, I'll give this one to Mike. This is more of the wonderful British police force. This video is quite interesting to see how they handle.
With my work.
Yes.
Because a filthy migrant just spat on me. And you've got the issue with me.
We have a duty to challenge that language, because we're police officers.
Because he's filthy and he's a migrant and he attacked me like the other one.
We're trying to help you report which is offensive, isn't it? We can't not challenge that language because there's people in the public.
Okay, what's your numbers? So you'll find my language offensive. 1483 3028
I'm still happy to help you with your crime, but we have to
1192.
challenge you when you use language like that.
Especially when you're in the public as well, because obviously the people walking past us.
I think that's fair.
They would
Well, I think filthy migrants attacking English people is disgusting.
Yeah, you're also swearing as well, madam.
And that's an issue. Since when is swearing a crime?
To get spoken to with respect too,
And you're in public where there's people, kids
we're
not
human
too far
beings
away.
just doing our job.
People can hear that.
Well, I'm not interested in a PC lecture. If you want to take my details, that's fine.
Take it away, Mike. That's a mind melter.
Well, thought crime, citizen. Geez, dude. Yeah. 1984 called it, man. I'm telling you. Whew. The UK needs
Vivo ask the question.
Yeah, exactly. And there we go. All right. We will ask the questions here. Yeah, this is the misplaced priorities, and that's a top-down issue. You could tell 2 of those 3 cops are just like, dude, I can't believe that we're actually having to say these things. That is misplaced priorities from the top down. Period. That's the kind of stuff that needs to go. And hey, you want to come get us for talking bad about you? Come get some.
Wow. Yep. Couldn't have said it better myself. Like, this is why we fight so hard for the First and Second Amendment, guys. This is the importance of those things, because look at what's happening to these people. And these people, I do believe, and mainly because they've probably had their head in the sand, like a lot of people in this country, they didn't see this until it smacked them right upside the face. The normie norms never do. And they probably have people over there saying, hey, guys, we can't do this. We can't do this. And yeah, now it's in your face, and now you can't run away from it. And now your government is defending it and jailing you and reprimanding you for countering it and speaking the truth. Chris, I'm going to give you this one. Congress drafts a bill for border security and tax reform. And hey, hopefully, I haven't read the bill. I don't know a whole lot about it, but
there's not a whole lot to this other than, Joe Biden in his illegitimately installed administration on the first day with the stroke of a pen wiped out 94 of Trump's executive orders that protected our southern border. So Trump 2.0 has learned some lessons. And while he's going to have to use EOs to get some stuff started, his goal by the time his second term is done to have actual legislation in place, which is much harder to overturn. And that's all this is here. This is a bill they want to hit the ground running on January the 20th and have a flurry of EOs, but laws as well to back this stuff up. And that's all it is. It's just good planning in advance. And realistically, we're going to have problems with the Senate. John Thune is a piece of shit. Rhino. Yep. He just announced yesterday that he doesn't think that all of Donald Trump's nominations are going to get confirmed because he doesn't agree with them all. The John Thune is no better than Mitch McConnell. They're both, establishment hacks at the end of the day. So that's all there is on that one.
Actually, John Thune is the retarded version of Mitch McConnell. He's way less intelligent than Mitch McConnell. The one thing that you can say about Mitch McConnell is he's a shrewd dude. And, the only things you can respect him for is like getting all of those judicial nominees through and all of that kind of stuff. He definitely did a good job with that. But overall, John Thune is the retarded Mitch McConnell. He has nowhere close to the level of political acumen or anything that are maybe something you could say was positive about Mitch, but he is a garbage version of Mitch McConnell. So it's way worse.
Kind of like dollar store Obama, Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
Just different.
Yeah. The future is dumb as well as corrupt. Okay. Moving on to the next one. I'll give this one to Jeff. And this is apparently $42 billion of high-speed internet program money was laundered and used for programs it wasn't intended for. Government corruption.
I am shocked. Shocked, I say.
So I'll read this real quick. How they did it. The FCC awarded Elon Musk Starlink $885 million to serve 642,925 homes. Joe Biden targeted Elon Musk, revoking the contract after buying Twitter, and the Democrats turned around and made it a deal that cost $100,000 per home, but spent the money on their radical agenda instead. They literally openly admitted to the $42 billion was laundered to be used for their radical agenda, not what it was intended for. So what is going to happen, or what has happened in the process of the $42 billion being allocated for Americans to get internet? What they have been doing so far is advancing a wish list of progressive policies. They've been pushing for DEI requirements, climate change, gender preferences for the government-run networks, rather than just focusing on getting people connected. Money laundering. We'll play that clip there at the bottom.
To Joe Biden giving the green light to agencies to go after them.
Let me ask you a question. Under the Trump administration, in 2020, the FCC awarded Starlink $885 million to serve 642,925 homes and businesses that lacked internet. What happened to that program?
Well, last year, after President Biden went to the White House podium and said that Elon Musk is worth being looked into, the FCC abruptly reversed course and yanked back that award. And now in other programs, the ones that are actually connecting people under this administration, we're spending dollars on the penalties. Senator Cruz recently had a report showing that in some cases we're spending $100,000 per home for broadband, when with that Starlink deal, it was $1,300. I don't think there's any way to explain the FCC's decision other than to go back to Joe Biden giving the green light to agencies to go after them.
Well, Jeff. Oh, you're muted, bud.
This is misappropriation of federal monies, which is a felony. These people need to be arrested, tried, convicted, and imprisoned for stealing, wasting, however you want to say it, misappropriating billions of dollars of our money. They do not have the discretion to spend money however the hell they want. They can only spend money the way Congress has dictated the money is to be funded. More importantly, the House of Representatives, because they're in charge of all funding. They need to be fired and arrested and tried.
Yep.
They need to lose their
100.
pensions, everything.
Yeah, and I'll add this: you were not going to get this to stop until you make some examples publicly.
Absolutely, people need to go to jail. They need to go to Leavenworth, turning big rocks into little rocks with a 20-pound sledgehammer. Then it will stop.
Just like Francis Collins and Tony Fauci for 2020, and all the lies that were told that are verifiably they knew what they were doing, and all of this stuff. And every one of these people need to be in prison, or they need to be, in some cases, executed because of the physical damage that they did to the population.
Yes,
it's just gross and evil. All right, moving on, Mike. You get this one. This is a very good question that Matt Tardillo talks about. Yep.
I nuked a bunch of stuff for the rest of the brief just so we could get ahead of this because we're running long.
Sure.
So this one here actually is the last one for chapter 2, and it's Mike's.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Mike. So Matt Tardillo is asking, I wonder where the footage from this camera is hiding. Looks like it would be a nice angle looking through the front windshield. Just saying. It's a camera looking directly down at where the car was parked. The Cybertruck.
Yeah, I'd like to see what came off that camera when it first pulled up. But the Lexan screen on the exterior of it, as soon as that thing went poof, you're never going to see anything through that screen again. That bubble's gone. But I'd like to know what came up before that. Yeah, I'd like to see in there and see, is this a live person behind the wheel? Because I don't think there was, but that's just me.
No. Have you guys ever shot a Desert Eagle at a watermelon? They disintegrate.
Like, you guys like Mexico? Literally. That was that kind of question.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, I completely agree, and I think there's a reason why this is, just as they said on that space last night. We are putting this out there because we know if this was left to the government, it would be hidden, and it would be just like the manifesto of the shooter in Nashville. that we would never know the true intent. They don't want us to know. They don't think they owe us as the American people an answer for any of this crap. That's how narcissistic they are. But that ends chapter 2. We're going to move on to chapter 3 after this short video and for our sponsors. Oh, we're just going to go? We're just going?
We're just going to go.
Do it.
All right. So chapter 3 is typically zany stories and memes. So we're going to go through these real quick because we are way over in time, and that's my fault. I've been a little long-winded tonight. So let's go ahead and go through these. Hey, we get that way sometimes. We had a short episode last night and a long one tonight. So this is actually... Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Chris.
I can kick this one off. So not last week, but the week before, there was a big, kerfuffle over H-1B visas, and Elon took offense to it and said he would go to war over it. And shortly thereafter, some very high-profile conservative accounts like Laura Loomer, lost their blue check mark, which means they're not verified. When you're not verified, it means you lose your monetization. You can't make any money, which also means you can't sell subscriptions to your posts that are only for, your paying customers or followers, I should say. And it also means you're limited to 140 characters per post. And it was bullshit retribution on Elon's part. And this is the reason I've been saying all along. Elon deserves credit for restoring an element of free speech that probably saved the election for us this past year, but he is not the Messiah. And then what does he do? He turns around and alters the X algorithm so that if anybody says anything negative about public personas, himself included, then you're going to be penalized and have less exposure for your posts. So he came up with a thing called an X score. So you can go to Grok, which is his AI, and say, what is my X score? And it'll come back and give you a score out of 100. So he wants you to only post positive things. Don't say anything bad about anybody or anything else. So yesterday, Tim Pool, first thing in the morning, started on an entire day of doing nothing but posting bullshit rainbow comments on people. He started the day with an X score of 38 and he finished with an X score of 100 because he blew sunshine up a bunch of people's asses. And anybody who thinks that X has complete freedom of speech, I have been saying for months that is not the case. I've been suspended 3 times in the past 12 months, all for the same thing. Me saying that one individual or another who's in government needs to be charged, tried, and convicted of treason and face the maximum penalty, which you know what that is. But because I put it in words, I got kicked off 3 times for fomenting violence. But the pink, purple-haired freaks can say, I hope that the next assassin does a better job and splatters Trump's brains out and nothing happens to them. The good news is that wealthy people have taken note of this, and Todd Callender would be one of those wealthy people. And we just got approval last week, meaning my team, my tech team, just got approval to build the new Cloud Hub. It's going to be under a different name, probably Liberty Club will be the name of it. And it will be the one and only censorship-free social media platform, bar none, hosted offshore. If it's not pornographic and it's not illegal, there will be zero censorship. So Elon Musk is not the Messiah that everybody made him out to be. I'll get off of that and I'll pass the torch.
Yeah, let's move on to the next one. This was the Golden Globes night before last, guys.
I didn't know S2 went to the Golden Globes.
Yeah, I want to end like that. Yeah. So you don't necessarily all
matches his eyes.
Yeah. 2, 1. Amazing.
I'm just gonna say this: make bullying great again.
Yeah, she should shave closer.
This is an interesting one with Mr. Joe Biden, Mr. Dementia-riddled
one of you ever met in your whole
and what happened? Yeah, go ahead.
By being the oldest president, I know more world leaders than any one of you ever met in your whole goddamn life. By being the oldest president.
I'm Joe Biden, and I don't work for you.
Sounds like
Getting
Jeff
all-
talking.
Yeah, getting his well, this is what a lot of, having just said goodbye to my mother. One of the things that happened with me over Christmas break, she had dementia, and the anger and the snapback because they can't actually keep mental clarity. It's a very real thing. That's what you're seeing there, and that's why he gets so angry at these things when he doesn't actually have an answer and it's not scripted.
Correct.
This is interesting. This is wonderful road rage video.
Let's go! Get out of the fucking car! You want to ride my fucking ass? Get out of the fucking car there, bitch! Get out! Get out! I didn't touch your fucking car, you dumb bitch! You were on my gun! Come and touch me, because my man's right fucking there. Come and put your fucking hands on me. I ain't driving crazy. Your bitch was on my goddamn ass. I went to fucking other lane. Get out of my face. Bitch. Fuck ass.
Boom.
She swung first.
So this is a prime example of what happens when people watch Netflix and think that it's real, where the girl smokes a guy twice her size like it's nothing. And we were just, the only time I watch TV is at bedtime. And so we decided we were going to watch the series Lost again. And we got about 2 seasons into it. And I said to Cindy, I can't watch any more of this shit because there's that Hispanic girl, one punch knocks the guys out, beats the shit out of them. And it's complete and utter fantasy land bullshit. And that's what comes out of it right there, is you have people believing that they're going to take on a guy. Good luck with that.
I got to roll out, or otherwise I'll be divorced because dinner's cold. So I'm a dead man otherwise.
No problem.
Yeah.
Thanks,
My
guys.
apologies.
Have a good night. See you later. Bye.
Dead man walking.
All right, now we have memes.
I can attest to this being accurate. The Floridians Cat 5 hurricane, yeah, whatever. Floridians and weather below 60 degrees, end of the world. True story. And then there's what's going on in New York City on the subways. Just in case anybody.
Back of the wall.
Yeah. I mean, it's about the only safe place you can be, right? Because people keep getting pushed onto the tracks. If people can go to prison for lying, then shouldn't members of Congress go to prison for lying to the people?
Yes.
Can't argue with that one bit. All right, next one. There you go. The rape of Britain for you right there. Grooming white girls, raping white girls, posted a meme, door number 3, you're going to jail.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and here you go. This bullshit started because of this bullshit, thanks to this asshole.
Absolutely.
Can't argue with that. It's funny, that everything, they say everything that's comedic has an element of truth in it, and there you go.
That's why they hate memes, Chris.
For sure. Yeah, because it gets a point across quickly, right? All right. The Crusaders were bad guys, Muslim child rape gangs.
Oh yeah. That definitely derailed that whole conversation right there, because it was actually starting to grab a little traction, and then that whole thing came up, and it was like, oh.
Did you guys happen to catch Nancy Pelosi today? She was on a walker. She just had a hip replaced because she fell down. But term limits now, ain't that the freaking truth?
Well, now you have Glitch McConnell constantly having strokes on TV.
Yeah, it's brutal, isn't it? It's absolutely brutal. All right, moving on to the next one here. I'll try to get through these as quickly as I can. Corporate needs you to find the difference between this picture or this picture. Well, they're both pretty awesome. It is this too soon? Now that he quit, going to work at McDonald's. Oh, this one's awesome.
Yeah,
this one's awesome. I'm sorry. The line for people that Trump broke starts way back there.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Here we go. Listen, you cannot unsee this. These are the women who want free birth control.
Front butt Sally there.
Yeah, we had a whole thing on about front bums last night. Pretty crazy. This is nice. Mike, did you catch this? The Boone County, North Carolina, that they have to pay their property taxes due by midnight.
I saw that. Yeah, and that is the same lady that was doing stupid stuff before.
Unreal.
Ooh, that county commissioner, she's going to wind up getting herself hung, man, or just disappeared.
Ain't that the truth? I like this suggestion here that Trump should give Tommy Robinson asylum. I second that motion. Yeah. And speaking of the UK, in what situation would a kid need this? The UK.
Yeah,
100%.
Because of all the rape gangs.
Actually, that's 100% the wrong. That's the wrong gun. She needs an AR extended mag. Yeah.
She has them actually. She's pretty funny.
That little girl, Autumn's Armory, great follow. She's freaking awesome.
Oh, she's something else. I agree.
Awesome.
Yeah. And here you go. Happy Nothing Burger, J6. Nothing happened today. That's why it took so long to get the brief out today. I was waiting for something, prolific to happen, and nothing prolific happened. So we ended up with the grab bag like this tonight. Check this out. New Jersey eliminates literacy requirement for state's teachers. That's good. Previously, teachers were required to read and write at a 6th grade level. Imagine being illiterate and thinking to yourself, you know what? I think I'll go into teaching.
The 6th grade level is also ridiculous for someone who has a college degree. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah. No kidding. No kidding. All right. Just a quick message from one of our sponsors, Flex Industries, flexindustries.com. The fastest, most badass triggers on the market. They've got a new one coming for AK here imminently. That's pretty crazy. But here's one of their AR triggers. They also have Glock triggers, by the way, that are 100% legal, and they're not a Glock switch. They're a legal trigger. And that's our friend Tactical Carl, one of our favorite sheriff's deputies. And that's the 3MR trigger, flexindustries.com. Discount code SD17. S is in Sam, D is in David, 17. Get 17% off. That's it. You're down to homework and the conflicted question.
So with us here on Survival Dispatch, we want to always give you guys something to take away from an episode. It's very important, I think, that you guys have homework and marching orders in the day and age that we live in. So today, what can we do in light of everything that we've discussed in this episode? Be skeptical. Do not trust legacy media and their BS reporting. We know that. We have seen it over the last half decade or decade, depending on how long you've been paying attention. Do your best to educate your circle that the legacy media is full of it. They're just garbage. They parrot whatever the narrative is that's given to them by their corporate overlords. They're not to be trusted at all. And help spread the truth by sharing our content. I don't know if you guys realize this, but we've been way ahead on a lot of things. The stuff that broke on Sean Ryan, part of that stuff about the man pads that came in from the southern border, we broke that on Survival Dispatch News, guys, with Doc Pete Chambers. And that was months ago. That was months ago. Like, we were way ahead of that story. And the media has buried it because they don't want you to truly know how bad it is. Get involved. Go to, as I said earlier, and I'm going to reiterate this, go to your school boards in light of this terrorism threat and demand, do not be quiet, demand that they up security at the schools, that they have plans, that they actually show you guys your tax dollars pay their salary. So make them earn it and go and do that kind of stuff. Do you guys have anything to add to that stuff?
No, sir.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, not specifically to that, but homework wise, because you covered that everything there for what we covered tonight. But it's the first of the year, everybody. First of the year, and there's been a lot going on, so I get it, and a lot of people have probably missed it. But first of the year, time for you to rotate all of your preps. Time for you to recharge all the batteries. You got detectors, you've got batteries and stuff. Swap those batteries, recharge batteries, swap out water, check food, all that kind of stuff. You go from top of the list to the bottom of the list and everything gets checked. First of the year, go to work.
Well said. Well said. I completely agree with that. And after last night, I've got a lot of batteries to recharge. So, already started today, but yeah, that's true because you never know when something's going to happen. Patreon, don't forget, if you guys like our content and you want a little bit more information, a little bit more of our daily sit rep reports that we send out to our insiders, it's $9.99 a month. Go to patreon.com, Survival Dispatch, sign up. You get a lot of really extra insider content. You get our 228-page essentials guide for survival, access to our Signal chat, and that thing has not slowed down since the day it launched. I can't hardly keep up with it. It is hard for me to, like, you guys are just blowing it up, and I love it. I love it. I wish I had time to spend all day paying attention to the stuff you guys are posting and talking about. It's great when I have time to jump in there, but you guys keep it going. 50% off insider magazines and early access to our content. We put out these sit reps. So if you can't make an episode and you want to follow along, or you get these in the early afternoon before we go live, and Chris and all of our team works very hard to bring the most pertinent news to you guys on a daily basis. So we appreciate that. On to the conflicted question. Oh, and you also, in those sit rep reports, you get content that we cannot share because of YouTube, because of all of this other stuff. There's a whole section of critical banned content, stuff that would actually get us banned, that we put in there. And some of it's very, very, it's eye-opening, and it's also important. So Chris did something interesting because we are running out of conflicted questions. So he went on Grok and asked them some questions, and I think we're going to do this for a little while, just to see what kind of stuff we get from there. So, what is a good question to ask preppers? Was what he asked. What is the one item you consider indispensable for survival and complete societal collapse, and why?
Don't steal Mike Sterling's conflicted question, or death will fall upon you. There's what you don't want to forget.
Oh, how about that? Yeah, I should have let you read that, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, I'm good with it. This is not the conflicted question. This is a Grok question.
Yep.
It's
you can blow me up later.
What?
I got a simple answer. You got to be able to defend yourself, and you got to be able to potentially hunt food as well. So the one item for me, it's got to be a gun.
Yeah. For me, it would be. What about you, Mike? I'll let you go first. I'll go last.
For me, it would wind up being a durable multi-purpose knife. I can do significantly more things with a knife than I can even with a gun. I can acquire a gun later. I can build things with that knife. I need that tool.
Yeah, I would tend to say, I'm kind of, as a firearms instructor, I always kind of lean towards guns, but a knife can be, I'll use a movie reference since we've been full of them all night. You watch the first Rambo movie, First Blood. He goes into the woods with a knife. He kills food. He fashions weapons. And then later on, he is able to kill a man and get his gun. So I would say that a good survival knife is indispensable. And most people that have been out in the woods would tell you the same thing. A gun, also indispensable. But I think a knife it would probably edge out a gun just barely for me. For sure.
It's a tool in the toolbox.
Yep, exactly. All right. So that is the end of our episode. Ran a little bit long tonight. I apologize for that. I'm a little rusty on hosting, so we'll go.
It's all your fault.
Yes, it is my fault. But we will be back here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Like, share, and subscribe to our content.